Howdy, I'm OldR and I'm your host for today's Single Scoop episode. As I'm sure our listeners are well aware of by now, I'm a huge fan of H.O.T, and for the last 9 years, I've been working on a project to explain their history to non-first-gen international K-pop fans. Because of that research, I decided to start a mini-series on their most important concerts. I have a lot to say as I really want to dive in and compare them to each other. The focus is going to be on the content of the concerts, not stuff like how fast tickets sold out or a blow-by-blow of the footage director Kim Se-hoon has of it. As a disclaimer, I'm only doing the concerts that I found the entire show of online, so unless full footage of their US concerts show up, they won't be included in this, and neither will any festival or concert that features multiple groups, such as the Dream Concert. You get the picture. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's start this series by diving into their first concert. H.O.T's first solo concert took place on January 23rd through 25th, 1998 at the KSPO Dome, also known as the Olympic Gymnastics Arena, a month before they started their US tour. The official title for it is 1998 H.O.T First Concert, but I'm just going to be referring to it as their first concert during this episode as that's a long name. The video of the concert is about an hour and a half long and they perform 15 songs. At the time, only their first 2 albums had come out, and the concert heavily leaned into the theme of the second album in particular. In my opinion, that album was the most teenage-sounding album in their discography. Despite their name being High Five of Teenagers, once they realized the demographic of their fandom was a wide spectrum, they pivoted towards speaking to Korea as a whole from their third album on. And I'm bringing that up because a few of the gags from their first concert weren't repeated again, as their discography became increasingly mature. It starts by showing a 3D silver and blue version of their logo. If you haven't seen it before, it's the letters H.O.T stacked on top of each other in a stylized way. This then cuts to the opening of their debut song with artwork from their first album behind a flame effect. Then there's a shot of the members with their debut date under it. From there, we finally see the venue as it fills up and security arrives. After that, we see Lee Soo-man coming into the stadium surrounded by security as fans cheer for him. This probably seems weird now, but at the time, he was still primarily known as an entertainer and the person responsible for a debut in H.O.T. And I can't explain why, but I think the visual of him bowing to fans, putting on his headphones, and counting down the start of the concert is pretty cool. If you plan on watching this concert, just a heads up, right after his signal, sparks race to the stage and rain down. Then it turns into a green light show. So if you're flash sensitive, I recommend you skip 4:20 through 4:38. After that, the stage goes dark and the first song begins. The concert starts off strong, with Heejun screaming "We are the future," and they get the crowd pumped. Then they go into Wolf and Sheep. This is probably my favorite performance of the song because, at one point, they pause to show war footage. You hear Heartbeat over it, and then it cuts back in for Kangta's solo. As they mainly leaned into the alien theming during promotions, I love that the song's lyrics about a hospital massacre that happened during the Korean War were referenced visually here. After that, they wrap up the start of the concert by singing Another Stressful Day, which some know better as The Cranky Day. I didn't recognize it at first because the opening and other parts of the song were completely different from the version on my CD, but I did like this concert's version way more. Unpopular opinion here, but I still don't get why they went so hard for the song and even performed it on a music show and did a commercial with it for Samsung's Mini Mini, which, to be fair, is currently my favorite H.O.T CF since I first ran into it earlier this week. But I think You're Fast, I'm Slow deserves that attention more, especially during first album promotions, considering its message and target demographic. I know people are going to disagree with me, but that's my stance. After that section finished, they had their first ment and VCR to transition to the next part of their concert. Tony takes the lead on this by thanking fans for coming to their first concert and says they're moving on from dance songs. This is when he runs into a screen where a pre-recorded video plays while he goes to change his clothes with the other members backstage. Meanwhile, the video shows Tony changing his clothes. No, really. Tony is in a white room with what I'm pretty sure is a bergère armchair. He takes off his shirt, then gets cold and tries to get warm by exercising. After that, he almost starts taking off his pants, but then gets shy and goes behind the chair to change into a suit. Due to his cartoonish reactions, it's clearly meant to be a gag to make the audience laugh. After that, H.O.T returned to perform Free to Fly and When I Need You. Unfortunately, both songs are only played for about a minute and a half. This is such a weird choice, as after this, there's another video break. This one is a behind the scenes of the members signing autographs and messing around. Also, Yoo Young-jin is there wearing overalls with a belt for some reason, but interestingly, there's a part that looks like they're teasing the choreography for Hope. There's no way the song was close to being done by this point, let alone ready for choreography, unlike when they spoiled the Power Racer move prior to the release of Candy that was about to drop. So it's just a mildly interesting coincidence. After that, the members returned to the stage and performed the entire version of The End of My Inferiority Complex. And that leads to a part that I assume most H.O.T fans have seen pictures and clips of without knowing it comes from this concert. Although I'm sure there's at least one person who tuned into this episode just for this, and if that's you, please leave us a comment telling us, because I'm very curious as to how many people already knew about this and wanted to hear the full context for it. I'm of course talking about the H.O.T dress room. Heejun leads it by explaining that they need to change their outfits. Kangta starts jokingly taking off his jacket and Heejun stops him. Tony takes over explaining that they're going to be getting changed on stage, and the members make horrified noises, clearly exaggerated for comedic effect. Then, a large yellow box of H.O.T's logo and the words Hot Dress Room slides on stage. It looks like it was put together of 2x4s and large yellow construction paper was added onto it. It's clearly sturdy as the members lean over it a lot, but it looks like something someone put together for a school festival. They go behind the box and hide behind it while dressing. Jaewon was disappointed that it's the perfect height for the other members, but too short for him, so he had to duck down. They joke around, and at one point, Kangta, who's enjoying himself way too much, hugs Woohyuk. Although it might have looked like they were shirtless in older low-res clips, Kangta and Woohyuk are actually wearing their white candy overalls. Aside from Tony sticking out his leg while pulling up his pants leg to fake out the audience, that's the most skin seen during this gag. I'm emphasizing that because I have mixed feelings on this segment. When I first saw this, I was 18 and I loved it because I thought it was funny, but now I'm in my 30s and I know just how old they were at the time. In international age, the three oldest members were 19, Kangta was 18, and Jaewon would have been 17 until a few months later in April. Even though I know it was a gag to make the teenage fanbase laugh, I think they should have waited to do it until the members, especially Jaewon, were older. Quick side note, for years, JR and I have talked about this, and she informed me that SM repeated this gag years later with EXO. In my opinion, the vibe and execution are very different, but the bones of it are similar. After teasing the audience, Jaewon slides out dressed in his candy outfit after Heejun told him not to. He returns to the box, then, after all the members are dressed, they perform Candy. The crowd is so loud as they sing along. Disappointingly, Heejun doesn't do his Power Racer move and Woohyuk doesn't do his hammer dance, but they kind of make up for it with how high the energy is. This one is obviously performed with live vocals because they run out of breath and get louder at different points than usual. After the song concludes, the members leave the stage and only Heejun remains. He gets the audience to clap and then goes behind the screen like Tony did earlier. He's in the same white room with the bergère armchair and again gets fans to clap. The text 337 baksu, which is the Korean word for clap, appears on the screen. I had no clue what was going on, so Sedin explained it as it's where you clap in that beat/rhythm of 3 times, 3 more times, then 7 times. After he gets them going with that, he starts dancing silly, then also pulls the gag of getting undressed. But it turns out he had a black t-shirt and pants underneath his candy outfit. He continues joking around as he puts on a jacket, tie, and long coat. Then he jumps out behind the screen dressed as he was in the video. He says that was fun and asks fans if they think his outfit is pretty, and they say yes. Then he explains what's going on next, which is solo stages for the different members. Heejun's segment starts with him playing drums, then 2 guys playing electric guitars join in. The fans are really into it. Not to bring this up yet again, but I just want to point out that he's very clearly playing rock music in front of quite a lot of fans. So why did so many of them later act like his solo work was a blindside? I'm not letting this go, but anyway, Heejun moves on to playing on a keyboard and then Kangta joins the stage singing while wearing a white version of Heejun's outfit. They end the song, then engage in witty banter before Heejun leaves. Kangta sings You Are So Beautiful for his solo stage. It's a cheesy song that's so perfect for 90s Kangta. He really loves drawing out his notes during concerts, but especially during this song. This performance is clearly powered by English Pang Pang, as his pronunciation during this all-English song is pretty good. After he leaves, Woohyuk's solo dance stage starts. The dramatic lighting is back with fog. The music is a mix of samples. Interestingly, his outfit looks suspiciously close to the ones he wears in the future for Aya and Outside Castle. Some of the choreo looks like ones he uses for other future songs, including the leg movement seen in an earlier VCR that is later used in the choreography for Hope. Once he leaves, Tony and Jaewon talk to their fans. They call up an audience member to the stage and ask her questions about herself, including who she's a fan of. She says Tony, which he takes as a victory. In retaliation, Jaewon gets the audience to chant his name. But he's a good sport and takes her camera to take a picture of her with Tony. The poor girl looks stunned the whole time, which is fair. After embarrassing her enough, Tony gives her a hug and they hold her hands while talking, then they finally let her return to her seat. Another VCR plays that seems to show the behind the scenes of the members and staff eating before and during concert rehearsals. There's a lot of horsing around with the members doing stuff like Heejun making monkey noises while he tries to feed Tony. It ends and H.O.T comes back on stage to sing Tragedy with live vocals, which is obvious when Kangta runs out of breath and doesn't sing into his mic at one point. I had no idea the song had choreography, but as it's pretty generic, that's probably why. Interestingly, Wook had a stuffed backpack for this, and I was instantly reminded of Deuce. Once it's over, they give a short ment, then the concert footage cuts to clips of them performing Hue Since You've Gone to tease fans. That song would appear on H.O.T's third album, Resurrection, which wouldn't be released until several months after this concert. It was the first song written by an H.O.T member to be shown to the public. As Heejun had been writing music since pre-debut, which is part of what made his audition stand out to Lee Soo-man, it must have been an incredible moment for him to finally see the positive reaction to his hard work. But a moment of silence for the fans who thought that'd be the general sound for the album, not knowing the rest of it would be completely different. The VCR is a continuation of the behind-the-scenes footage of the prep for this concert, this time with a focus on the stage. At one point, Tony exclaimed in shock that it was midnight, as he hadn't realized they had been working so late. My favorite part of the concert came after that. It starts with a montage of clips that show bullying between teens as well as adults towards teens, with dramatic music over it. It seems to pull from TV shows and news broadcasts as well as close-ups on articles. This references their debut song, which condemns bullying and has a narrative told from the perspective of someone who's being bullied. Then text comes up, which, when translated to English, basically means, quote, all the violence in the world, I reject it, unquote. And I love that because it's a reference to the title of their first album, We Hate All Kinds of Violence. If you're familiar with Warriors Descendants, then you'll recognize the final sound at the end of the song because that noise is repeated as the lights on stage flash. Then it dives into an extended version of the opening instrumental. Wook's opening scream is so good here. The vocals emphasize the words and fans sing along with the members. Then, right after they say, this is the message from H.O.T, the stadium goes dark. A video shows two teens being chased by bullies and beaten in an alleyway at night, referencing the music video for the song. Then it cuts back to the song with the members resuming their performance. Towards the end, Heejun and Wook have a choreographed fight that I wish they had done more of. One of the things that has always drawn me to H.O.T is that when they make a song about a serious issue, they don't just leave it at the words or vague imagery from the music video. They included visuals of the problem during their performances, spoke out about it in interviews, including their autobiography, and at times got directly involved in some way, such as the US tour they were about to do, which is to help Korea during the IMF crisis. The message of Warriors Descendant being a criticism of bullying is perfectly clear to me because of how H.O.T repeatedly reinforced that over the years, including with this concert. Yet, I've seen so many people argue that it's about something else. H.O.T used their popularity to bring attention to this issue again and again, including future concerts, but this is my favorite version of it compared to the others. And now for some whiplash. After Warriors Descendant ends, they jump into Haengbok. Yes, the song that's about being happy over reuniting with someone is after the song about bullying. That's probably one of the most H.O.T things H.O.T has ever done. My favorite part about watching them perform Haengbok is how Jaewon's voice changed since it was originally released in 1997. He ended up with a pretty deep voice, so watching him struggle with the high notes over time, including later in this concert, is hilarious to me. Usually, when they're performing this song, a part of Go H.O.T is included in the middle to introduce the members. Annoyingly, the camera for this concert didn't focus on each member, but we got to see Jaewon's flip all the way, which sometimes got cut off during music show performances, so I'm taking my wins where I can get them. Then during the high kick part, the members were all together except Heejun, who was on the other end with the dancers. I love how much wandering around and deciding to do something in the moment is basically a mandatory part of performing the song because it's got this chaotic energy that's so much fun. But also, that's why most groups prefer Super Junior's standardized version of the choreography, and in my opinion, that's cowardly. Anyway, after Haengbok, another video plays that ushers in the end of the concert. It shows images of the members, but heavily leans on showing the fans and their banners. It's a show of appreciation for the fans and their supportive reception to the group. Then it wraps up with You and I. While singing, the members take turns making statements thanking fans for coming. Once they finish, they bow. I don't know how common this is for other groups, but H.O.T has a tradition of ending their concerts by walking to the different sides of the stage to bow and say thank you. But H.O.T doesn't like going out on a sentimental note. Spotlights go over the crowd, then Go H.O.T starts. The guys are more screaming their lines than singing them, as even though they're obviously exhausted, the song is too high energy to do anything less. Then the final song of the night is Haengbok again with more shenanigans. Wheeok gets blasted with streamers and runs around with them. Jaewon wasn't having it with the high notes, so he held out his mic to the audience instead. They do Go H.O.T again and include way more ad-libbing than they had before. With that, they finally ended after once again telling fans thank you and that they love them. The concert video ends with credits over reactions of fans screaming. I'm mentioning the credits because there are two interesting points that come from them. One is that Jung Hae-ik is mentioned. He was the CEO of SM when H.O.T debuted and left in 1998. I'm pretty sure his name is listed in H.O.T's third album as well, but don't quote me on that because the font used in the physical album is really hard to read. The whole fight with him and the guy who took over is wild and affected H.O.T in major ways. So, of course, I screamed when I saw that. Then there's the text that talks about the lore H.O.T had during the second album and includes the future date of July 4330. The video finally concludes by showing their logo. To wrap up, H.O.T's first concert was a delightful start to their major concerts. It perfectly encapsulated the first two albums and the youthful atmosphere the second album in particular had. In their autobiography, H.O.T Forever, there's a section at the back with a timeline of important events to the group, and this concert was listed on there. It's actually what started me on this series, as it was an event that H.O.T considered to be a major accomplishment. I agree with most of the setlist except the inclusion of Another Stressful Day and Tragedy because, seriously, who actually cares? I find it weird that Lost 12th Birthday wasn't in this because it's referenced by fans and the members every few months when it's someone's birthday. Your Image in the Sunset is a bop everyone agrees on, but with Your Fast I'm Slow, I'm wondering if it's a copyright issue due to sampling. I've seen these three songs being referenced way more than the two included, so I'm curious why they got chosen. Maybe other fans will disagree with me. If you do, leave a comment so we can argue about it. If you want to watch it for yourself, I'll be leaving the link to the YouTube upload I watched in the description, and I have time codes for each part in the notes section of the script. But that's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, then make sure to rate, subscribe, follow, and tell your friends about us. If you want to interact with us or see more of our content, then you can follow the links in the description to our website and social media platforms. More single scoops are coming your way soon. Thanks everyone. Annyeong!